Taking you to Paris now, where the Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, is making his remarks during his trip to Europe. There, he's going to be addressing Syria's use of chemical weapons and how Russia supports it. Let's listen in.
Chemical weapons stockpile for destruction under international oversight. The U.S.-Russia diplomatic framework was legally anchored by the United States and Russia in a decision of the Executive Council of the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons and Resolution 2118 of the UN Security Council. In addition, in March 2015, Russia supported the adoption of UN Security Council Resolution 2209, which emphasized that those responsible for the use of any toxic chemical as a weapon, including chlorine, must be held to account. Russia has not lived up to these commitments. Since April 2014, there has been mounting evidence that Syria continues to illicitly possess chemical weapons and use them against its own people. The OPCW fact-finding mission has confirmed multiple incidents of chemical weapons use in Syria, including the use of the toxic industrial chemical chlorine as a weapon. Some of these incidents, including the April 4th sarin attack, were later attributed to Syria by the OPCW UN Joint Investigative Mechanism. An independent panel of impartial experts established in August 2015 by the UN Security Council's Resolution 2235 with the full support of Russia. There is simply no denying that Russia, by shielding its Syrian ally, has breached its commitments to the United States as a framework guarantor. It has betrayed the Chemical Weapons Convention and UN Security Council Resolution 2218. And on these occasions has twice vetoed UN Security Council resolutions to enforce the Joint Investigative Mechanism and continue its mandate. Russia's failure to resolve the chemical weapons issue in Syria calls into question its relevance to the resolution to the overall crisis. At a bare minimum, Russia must stop vetoing and at least abstain from future Security Council votes on this issue. Over 25 like-minded countries are here today to ensure that those who use chemical weapons will be held accountable. France, the UK, Germany, Turkey, and many others are here today to uphold the Chemical Weapons Convention and its vision of a world free of these heinous weapons. We will use this partnership to facilitate greater information sharing about chemical weapons use, including sanctions information, to collect and preserve such information, and to strengthen the capacity of states to hold responsible parties accountable. This initiative puts those who ordered and carried out chemical weapons attacks on notice. You will face a day of reckoning for your crimes against humanity, and your victims will see justice done. We call on the community of responsible and civilized nations to put the use of chemical weapons to an end. The choice is yours. The people of East Ghouta are watching, and the rest of the world is watching as well. Thank you.
All right, the Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, there in Paris, making essentially the case that Russia is in full support of Bashar al-Assad's heinous regime and that they are in support of the Assad regime's use of chemical weapons. The Assad regime has stockpiled chemical weapons for quite some time. They've even been accused of using them on its own citizens, and the Secretary of State essentially saying that it has Russia's tacit approval to do so.
Whenever you hear the Secretary of State come out and say something like this, you always wonder how the president is going to react. We've discussed this a lot about the president's support, at least for Vladimir Putin. Nothing happens in Russia without his approval, and you always have to wonder if the Secretary of State and the president are on the same page.
We will see. Clearly, the Secretary of State making some very strong words there. We probably expect at some point that Russians will at least fire back. We'll have to see what happens.